In this video, I'm going to create a simple UI for an app. Going to review some of the concepts that we've already talked about, and then maybe look at a couple controls we haven't seen yet. So let's get started. I'm going to create a new application. I'm going to start with empty like usual. I'll call this one tip calculator because I can't really think of anything interesting that's small. So I'm going to do a tip calculator, the most useless app on the planet. I can do Kotlin, API. Let's do something different. We'll jump up to 9. It actually won't make any difference. All right, so we'll load up the project. And like usual, I'm going to wait till the initial build gets done. Then I've got off to the side here, I've got the simulator already up. I'm going to go ahead and run. Oops, I should hit run first. Go ahead and run it. It'll build and install just to make sure that nothing has gone haywire. And it didn't. But just out of habit, I always do that. Okay, so let's create a real simple tip calculator. And I do very much want to keep it simple. First thing is we're going to get rid of hello world. And let's put, in my mind it's going to be really simple. You're going to enter an amount and calculate a tip. So let's make it that simple to start with. So let's add in the text view. So maybe about right there. And I'll change the text to enter amount. Maybe put a colon after it. Why not? Then I need a place to put some text. So I can go over to the text area here on my palette. And in this case, you're going to enter a number, right? So down here, plain text password, these are all text inputs. For this one, let's do a decimal. So we'll drop a little decimal holder in there. And what this is going to allow you to do is numeric input. So let's stop there for a minute and let's get the constraints laid out. So when I drop this here, the little bars picked up and it did some stuff. It said 16 by 16. That's good, but maybe a little bit more room from the top might look nicer. So let's make that 32. Now for my text input, I've got to decide what I want to do. Well, one thing that makes sense is constraining it to so that it doesn't overlap enter amount, so I can constrain it there. And then on the other side, it makes sense to constrain it to the edge. And what that will do is by default, it just kind of spaces it out. And I think that'll be fine for this. That part was easy. The next question is, though, what do we do about spacing from the top? We could tie this to the top up here, but what I thought might be more interesting is let's tie the bottom to the bottom here. Because notice these are different sizes, right? This is much bigger, this is much smaller. So instead I'm going to go through and tie it to the bottom here. So now when I move this, say change to 32, let's say maybe we really want it to be big, 64, it moves down, but this stays in alignment with the bottom. Now, this line's not perfect, but for what we're doing here, it's good enough. So now let's run this and see. And it's building. It launches and we have it. And so now you'll notice when I select here, I get this nice little input, numeric input. So very nice. Okay. And we're also, of course, we're going to need a button. So let's go through and add a button here that you maybe click and it gives you the amount. So we'll put a button in here. Let's change the text to calculate. And you got to figure out where do we want to tie it to. Well, how about we tie it to the bottom here. And now we have a choice. Actually, let's space that out a little bit. Let's do 16. So where do we want the button? So it's going to be 16 down from the input. If I tie it to the leading here, so now the left side, whatever the left side of this is, the button will always be the same, right? So that's pretty nice because it kind of lines it up. If you'd want to center it, and a lot of times we do want to center things, if I want to center on something, you just tie both sides, leading and trailing. And then of course if I want it to be lined up on this side, I can go through and remove that one, and now it lines up to the side. So actually I like that. I think it looks good. So we'll do that. So now we'll go ahead again. I always like to run, make sure I haven't messed anything up too bad. There we go, and it looks good. I think the last thing our little tip calculator needs is it needs to display the amount, and that we'd probably put it in a label also. And maybe here we change the text. So right now it says text view. Maybe we'll just say tip amount. And this one here, we could even make it look a little bit nicer. Since this is going to be the tip amount, why don't we make it bigger so it stands out a little bit. And this one, you'll see, because when I drug there, I let the guides pick up, it dropped in some default constraints for me, which keeps this centered into the middle of the screen. So now again, I'll go ahead and run. There we go. Everything looks great. So we have a beautiful, beautiful Apple Design Award winning user interface for Tip Calculator. So I'll tell you what, I am really going to try to do my best on this set of videos to break them up into small videos. There's still some things we've got to fix. For example, you saw these little warnings. We want to fix those, and I'll do that in the next video.